and welcome into Getting Help from Uncle Sam. The 2nd Congressional District, which is our entire coverage area of you watching this show, is most important to the state of Alabama. Incorporated in that area is agriculture and military, two prime things that are very, very important to us as citizens, but more importantly to our nation. Today we have with us Barry Moore, and Barry, you are a candidate for the U.S. House of Representatives seat for the 2nd Congressional District. First of all, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jack. I heard I needed to be on this show, and I appreciate so much y'all having me on and having an opportunity to reach out.
You got in here by the nick of time.
Yeah, the weather was not conducive to get here today.
Well, and because I say a lot of the people that are obviously in this seat also have reached out to us a lot early on. And,
sure.
And what we've done is we've let each person, if they've reached out to us, be able to be interviewed at least once or twice during the course of the, because people need to know what they have to say. And of course, today we want to know about your experience, because I think that's key to getting a job, and you're asking for a job.
Yes, sir, that's exactly right. And honestly, when somebody told me the other day, said, Barry, you are the 2nd District, and I said, what do you mean? So, well, you're an ag science major, and you're the only veteran in the race. And then like you just mentioned, I mean, agriculture is the #1 industry in the state of Alabama. I grew up on a farm. I got an ag science degree, so I understood that and worked in that industry for a while, but I also served in the military. And growing up near Fort Rucker most of my life, and having my dad serve, my brother's retired Marine, my son-in-law was 82nd Ranger, so we kind of understand the needs of those military families, and my time and experience in the Alabama legislature is important, because I term limited myself to the chagrin of most of my people in my district, like, please keep serving, but I told them I'd serve 2 terms. I walked away, but it's 4 years as chairman of the Military and Veterans
People
Affairs.
need to know, because you're saying it kind of fast for our viewers.
Sure.
That was the State House of Representatives.
Oh, yes, sir.
You were a member of the State House of Representatives, and when you went in, you said you're going to stay for 2 terms, and you did exactly that.
Yes, sir. I always tried to do exactly what I told the people I would do, and so as the Alabama House of Representatives, I chaired Military and Veterans Affairs that last 4 years, but I served 8 total years in there, and it was a great time, and it was a great opportunity for us. And honestly, I thought I was out of politics till I endorsed a guy named Donald Trump.
That's right. And one of the things you say is you were one of the first persons that was in an elected office to actually, in the whole country, to say, okay, this guy's going to be okay.
He's going to be our guy. And that's exactly right. August 21st, 2015, Trump came to Mobile, Alabama, one of his first rallies. And there must have been 100 elected officials there, but nobody really wanted to go out and endorse him. And my wife and I went down the hallway and we gave a quick prayer, said, Lord, this is above our pay grade. We're going to need some guidance. And so we got a piece to go out and endorse a man who had no chance. He was an agent of change, an outsider, but 1% chance of getting the nomination, more or less beating Hillary Clinton. Nobody thought he could do that. And so we endorsed him that day. My daughter was the youngest Trump delegate in the nation. I was a Trump delegate. And
and that's an exciting thing to be a delegate.
It is.
It is. For Kathleen, she was in Auburn, and she kept seeing all these Bernie Sanders bumper stickers, and she calls and said, Daddy, this is driving me crazy. What can I do? And she ran unopposed in Lee County to be a Trump delegate.
That's amazing.
Well, there was a lot of people in the race, so you had to pick your candidate and run as a delegate on the ballot. And so when she got elected, when Trump got the nomination, she called and said, what do I do now? And so she went to Cleveland with me as delegates, and man, she was the most famous person there, because all of these networks around the world want to interview this young Trump blonde from Alabama, and she was a conservative, gave us a solid view on her Christian values and why she believed in what the president could do for our country. And we've been well pleased with the outcome.
Well, should you win the election, what would be the top 3 things that you would want to put your effort toward, Barry?
There's a couple of things. Number one, we've got to get the debt under control. Social Security, they're constantly borrowing to pay bills that we don't have the money to pay, and so we've got to protect those people who have paid in that system, and that's a protected right they've got. It's their money, by golly.
I agree.
But I
That is
think,
not an entitlement.
well, no, there's no
It's
secret.
our
That's not
money.
and I think the thing we have to do, one of the first bills I get so frustrated with terrible budgets, is we need to make sure that if our military and those people aren't getting paid in the government, then the Congress shouldn't get paid. Because what happens is they send a bad budget to the president's desk and say, well, we're going to stop paying the soldiers, we're going to stop paying the government employees, but Congress gets paid, and so the president's forced to sign a horrible continuing resolution, short-term budget that digs us another hole we got to dig out of. And so there's things like that, and Dan Crenshaw's got a great bill, the Year-End Fiscal Responsibility Act right now. What they're doing is every year, if the government near the end of that, if they don't spend that money, they lose it. So government agencies sometimes will spend money unnecessarily, but it's money you and I have to pay back.
Exactly, you are right.
So it'd be like giving your children an allowance and saying, if y'all don't spend it by the end of next week, you don't get your allowance the following week.
Right.
So it's a terrible policy, and we shouldn't govern like that. So Crenshaw's got a great bill. So those are a couple things I see right now that need to be done.
And of course, obviously, when Donald Trump came in, he promised a lot of things. Most politicians promise. He delivered.
He absolutely
And I
delivered.
think when you were in the State House, you promised and delivered.
I did. I was labeled the most dependable conservative vote in the Alabama legislature, and that's I always voted my convictions. The special interests would come in and try to get their hooks in you, but they learned early on that Barry's going to do what he told people he was going to do. An interesting thing, Jack, is I taught one of the deputy policy directors for Trump's Sunday school, and so he said once he got in the room with the president that if you could show the president where he said it on the campaign trail, that beat all the other arguments. No matter what other staff, administrators brought in, if you say, sir, you said on so-and-so day in this state you were going to do this, that always won the argument. And he's done exactly what he said he was going to do.
It's very interesting.
Well, you have to be, considering the positions that you've held, I know that you have an understanding of the military. And particularly, you know, Montgomery is a military town.
Oh, absolutely.
If we ever lost Maxwell Gunner, you could fold us up and put us in a little paper bag.
Yes.
So I am assuming that you would be really, really aggressive in supporting our military.
Oh, yes, ma'am. I drilled at Danley Field when I was in the Guard, 1133rd Medevac, but we were really, I was appointed chairman of Military and Veterans Affairs my second term, but it was because of the work I did in my first term. I carried license reciprocity for spouses.
Amen.
In-state tuition.
Right.
That was a bill that I carried and sponsored for active duty. And then the Purple Hearts parking spaces. Now, those are protected by law. And not to mention the 7 bills that we brought through my committee to make sure we got the F-35s to Alabama, because we had the Tuskegee Airmen. We
Right.
just needed to get the jets and the jobs that followed. So we could couple those two ideas together and we could sell Alabama to the rest of the country and to Congress, and that's how we did it.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for coming, first of all. Another promise, if you get into that seat, we want you to be a regular to come on the show when you come home.
I would
to
love
be able
that.
to let us know what's going on, because we haven't had that, to be honest with you. We've had them all sit here and promise, and then they go out the door, we never see them again.
Mr. Jack, I drove home every night in the Montgomery legislature except when I had pages in town.
Right.
And that was because I never want to lose touch with my people.
That's the
and
way to
so
do it.
I'm not going to become a creature of DC.
Great, great.
Good for
Well,
you.
thank you so much. And remember, the election's right around the corner. Do your homework, go to their websites, find out a little bit about them. Give them a call and talk to them. If you can't get them on the phone, you're probably not going to hear from them again. And we'll be right back right after this.